I was never that guy. I thought I was going to work at the line on GM for the rest of my life type thing, right? So
how did you start? How did you gain this success? How did you get into this?
Well, I basically I dropped out of school, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I was a really hard worker when I was a kid. I was never, I never had this entrepreneurial spirit that, everybody, all these gurus and online, you watch Gary Vee stuff, and Gary Vee was like, selling lemonade when he was, 3 years old in front of his house. I was never that guy. I thought I was going to work at the line on GM for the rest of my life type thing. Right. So that's where my whole family worked and everything. So, but I had really strong work ethic. So, but then school just got really tiring for me. I didn't like it. I've always kind of had this little problem with people telling me what to do. And I think you and I are a lot alike. Probably, yeah. And and then I dropped out, but because I worked a lot, and I was, I'd pick up any kind of, one time I had 3 jobs, and I'd work as much as possible. I ended up saving up like around 180 grand, and I bought 14 condos in Lagoyo on Riverside. That was my first move for going out on my own. That was during like the Great Recession of '08. So I picked them up. Like some of the condos that I bought were like 20 grand, 30, 50 grand. Wow. Yeah. So, and then when I was doing that, I had opened up a website to sell nutritional products. And then I actually, sorry to cut you off.
Yeah. I Googled you, and I saw you started Canadian Protein.
I did, yeah.
Because Helen, she's like, yeah, I started a protein or something. She mentioned something about you.
Yeah.
I love protein.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen your brand around. Congratulations.
Nice. Thanks, buddy.
I like the way your brain works, man.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, awesome, man. Yeah. So I ended up starting that, and it kind of started growing, and then I ended up rehabbing a few of the condos to remortgage to pull some cash out. And then with the equity that I ended up pulling out with that rehab that I did myself, I was like on YouTube Googling how to do these small renovations to get some money out, because at that point, exactly. At that point, you couldn't do anything. There was no appreciation. If anything, property values were going down, right? So I had to force it. And I ended up getting like maybe around 30 grand out of like five of those condos that I did some small renovations with. And I ended up buying like a blender to mix protein with and a couple other things. And then I got, so I moved out of my basement where I was doing everything. And then I got like this 1,000 square foot facility where I hooked up a blender and started scaling from there. And it wasn't doing all that well, the website, when I originally started it. So I ended up opening up a store on Google. The store started doing really well. I ended up selling the store because the website started picking up. And, I from my perspective, e-commerce was the way of the future. So I ended up selling the store and going all in on the e-commerce portion of it, and then just scaling from there. And to be honest with you, the whole real estate thing in the background was only meant ever to be for, a safety net in the event my e-commerce business didn't work out. And it just, I started taking the money that I would make from, the e-commerce brand, or the cash flow and the equity built up in the properties. And I would continue to scale the real estate. And it kind of, I built both of them simultaneously from pretty much like maybe 2006, 2007. And then, over the course of, say, the last probably 10, 12 years, it progressed from, buying single family homes, not having to do anything because the market started to get a little bit better gradually. Then it started to get to the point where, we had to, do light renovations. Then it got to the point where the renovations got heavier because the market started to, get more expensive, and you had to do heavier renovations. And then it got to the point where there was gut jobs, and then real estate stopped working. And then I went over to industrial properties, and then I would just buy industrial properties. The cash flow was great, didn't have to do anything. Then I started getting into rehabbing and developing industrial properties. And then that got to the point where I was like, okay, now I'm going to go get my developer's license, because that's really the only move around town. And then that stopped kind of working because it started getting too crazy and too competitive. And then I started buying stuff in the States because that was really the only other move. So that's the gradual. I didn't ever end up expecting to take on investors. It was a personal shift for me to go to the States, and then people around me started to pretty much take notice, and they wanted in on the deals, and I started opening it up to people that I know, and that's pretty much how it happened. And then along the way, Canadian Protein started to scale, and I kind of started realizing, hey, maybe I actually am a pretty good business operator. So, and then that was it. Yeah. So that's me.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. It's
a
great fucking story.
Yeah, appreciate that.